Hello everyone, my name is Leica. This is my Minecraft server that I've been working on for a couple weeks now. The premise of the server is that you start from a really old version and start updating to newer versions. As you can see here, this world was started in a very old alpha version, and I would like to show you guys a little bit about what I've done in the last couple of weeks. I plan to hopefully record a couple more of these in the future. And so you get to see some of the really cool things that you can do with technical Minecraft. So let me go ahead and get started. So as you can see, this is my world spawn. Over here we have a rail duper that is shooting rails into a portal. This is to load the nether. In 1.12, the nether will not be permanently loaded, so you have to utilize the spawn chunks and send items through the nether portal to load the nether permanently, which I'll show you why that's important later. Here you can see the spawn loading grid. If I were to open, or rather this is a 5x5 of chunks, that pretty much just show, or that pretty much load this central area. Let's go ahead and move on to the first and most noticeable project, the mob switches. So as you can see, it does appear as if I'm in a peaceful mode right now, and there's no mob spawn. But the server difficulty is actually in hard. Let me show you why this is. So while this here does not look particularly interesting, it's just a row of redstone, if I were to take a look and travel all the way over here, we see a group of 4 chunks where there are 256 blazes in lazy chunks. And this prevents any mobs from spawning in the nether. This here is a permaloader line. In Minecraft 1.12, if you have over 100 chunks that are loaded, each autosave, it will unload those 100 chunks first in a specific order, and then prevent that chunk loader over at the mob switch from being unloaded. So this is necessary to run that mob switch. If I travel down this direction, there is a similar overworld mob switch. I obviously cannot show the mob switch itself because it does de-unload or despawn the mobs. So now we switch to the overworld. Here you can see there is a mob switch over here as well. Over here you can see the overworld permaloader, which is similar to the nether permaloader that I showed a minute ago. Now that we've seen why there are no mobs spawning, let's go ahead and show something a little bit more interesting. So I'm just going to go ahead and show things as they come up, just to kind of explain what has happened on the server. So if we travel in this direction, this is a gravity block. So that means that any blocks like sand, concrete, or gravel can be duplicated here. This is Ilmango's machine. Rather, Ilmango's design. I believe it has a rate of 108,000 concrete or sand blocks per hour. As well, there is a chunk loading grid of 5x5 just to prevent this from being unloaded. So this allows it to run without a player present. Next, with all these slabs in the road, you can probably guess that this is in fact a fortress farm. Here is Nimbon's design. Due to the age of the chunks that I'm in, I actually kind of messed up the design. This is supposed to be built on a crossroads. However, the crossroads actually spawned about 20 blocks lower, and so I didn't want to rebuild the entire farm. So the farm still works, it's just not as fast as it hypothetically could be. But it's a super simple design, pretty much just sweeps left and right with these flying machines, and then dumps them all into this kill chamber where you swipe with looting and kill them. And then they all get sorted right here. Something else you will note is that there is no bedrock above here. In Minecraft, having a block above a farm means that that entire column spawns, or rather has a spawn rate of this block all the way up here. So it is incredibly detrimental to have the bedrock roof above this farm. So let's go ahead and travel out. This here is the 1.4 village. There's not really much to show here. It is pretty much just a village with some villagers that were generated in 1.4 instead of 1.5. So not much to talk about here. Is where things get really interesting. So this is a very colossal structure known as a obelisk, or what that means. So this very strange piece of world generation is found in the alpha version 1.1, I believe. In alpha 1.2 they changed the world generation, so these things no longer exist. But essentially, it is just a very, very large block of stone from bedrock to skyline. I'm just going to fly around real briefly. Yes. It's a very, very interesting looking design. So I ended up building my base next to it. So when I had to update to Minecraft beta 1.7.3, I did end up building a little aqueduct and a ranch house. So this all was built in beta 1.7.3. And as well, you can see the chunk borders here from the update. So I do want to briefly take a look inside of this ranch house. Downstairs we have a double skeleton spawner. This is where I got the XP to enchant all my items when I was in one of the 1.4 snapshots. As you can see in here, we have a bunch of items with illegal enchantments. In the first snapshot, where enchanted books were introduced, you could enchant any item with them, but only one illegal enchantment. The plan is, once I have updated to a more modern snapshot, there's a snapshot where the grindstone can apply any enchantment on any item to another item of that same type. So that would mean like I can get a looting 3, fire aspect 2, knockback 2, smite 5, big of Arthur Hot 5, sharpness 5 pickaxe. So this was my very first enchanting room, essentially. I spent quite a lot of time here. underneath the farm, we do actually, or underneath the monolith, we do have some interesting stuff. As you can see here, there is a ocean monument. This is something that happens in 1.8, is that if you have not spent enough time in a chunk, then an ocean monument will generate in an ocean biome. As you can see in the top left, this is an ocean biome. The reason for this is that the old alpha versions did not have biomes, they only had a temperature noise map. So, whenever you update an old world into a modern version, it overlays it with the old, or rather with the biomes that should be here. And so this area turned out to be an ocean. Thus, the ocean monument generated in the middle of this monolith. So, as you can see here, it is hollow on the underside of this monolith. It's actually the perfect spot to build a slime farm. This took forever to build, but it's just a very simple slime farm for a couple slime balls. There are some minecarts under here, obviously. And basically the slimes just get attracted to the iron golem, want to attack it, bomb over and get attacked by the magma cubes. And down there is where you collect it. So, in order to break bedrock, you do have to utilize dragon eggs in 1.12. It takes quite a lot, so you need a dedicated duper for it. Since normal bedrock dupers don't really work with dragon eggs, because they have a different fall time. So down here is Ilmango's, I believe it is 54,600 dragon eggs per hour duper. And then, of course, you've got your standard 5x5 chunk loading grid. Lovely. Alright, so this portal is a witch farm. You do need a little bit of redstone in the early game, and mining just kind of sucks. So I built this is Ilmango's 1.11 design, where it pretty much just pushes up slime blocks, and then the floor forces them through the floor, and then they fall down to the ground. And then down here, of course, I have some sorters for the gunpowder and for the redstone. Over here, there is a chicken farm. We do need some feathers for one of my future projects. So I have a chicken farm that just pretty much sits automatically and generates chicken and feathers. Over here, I have a squid farm. It's not super efficient. I still need to clear all the water in this region. But once the water is cleared, this will be a little bit more effective. But pretty much the squids just spawn here and then fall and stuff. 1.3 or sorry, a 1.12 villager-based iron farm. We do have our chunk grid, of course. Fight your spectator real quick. I can show that there are about, I believe there are 16 villages inside the sphere, and thus it makes about 500 iron per the storage is currently all full because I've had it chunk loaded for a really long time. But yeah, so essentially it just makes a whole bunch of iron. This was a complete pain to build due to it being built on the permaloader path for the overworld. That's my bad. I didn't realize it was on the permaloader path, so it was a little bit of a pain. And as you can see here, there's the rails to the nearest village. So this is kind of the general farms area for a lot of my projects in 1.12. Over here we have a cobblestone farm. I also use this to convert my concrete since I'm too lazy to mine it myself. It's only half because I got lazy and I said 55,000 is plenty. 55,000 per hour. I also have Ilmango's furnace array here. It has 46 furnaces. So it's fast enough for 1.12 for my early game needs. As well, over here, I do have Logical Geek Boys carrot and potato farm. This one's making potatoes. This one is just a really simple villager breeder. And then here is my villager hall. If I go ahead and move over here. And here are my villagers. Quite a few here. Mostly for enchanting. I wanted to get a whole bunch of villagers in 1.12 because even though it's not strictly necessary to get them in 1.12, if you trade with a villager a whole bunch of times in 1.12 and then update to a more recent version, they will have an increased max uses for their trades, meaning that you can trade several hundred times in a single day instead of only like 12 or 24. So it's super, super beneficial to make your villagers in 1.12 and trade with them a whole bunch there. Alright, and finally, the last thing I have to show off is the ingredients for my next project. As you can see, there is quite a whole bunch of stone because we are going to be building a falling block setup. The goal is, of course, that I'm going to get command blocks, bedrock, in portal frames, nether portals, all sorts of stuff as falling items, or sorry, falling blocks, and then I can upgrade to a modern version and play the game that way. So the reason we're doing falling block at all is because of the seed that we're in. If I do /seed, those of you who are perceptive may recognize this seed as the 1.12 seed where there are 4 quad witch huts, which are spread a couple million blocks out from spawn. In addition to those quad witch huts, I did also do some seed finding in 1.20, and I did find that this seed has 5 low Y level witch huts, which are equivalent or higher rate to a quad witch hut farm. So the goal is, of course, to take all 9 of those witch hut farms and then obviously make farms out of them, make perimeters, farms, and take them all to essential storage where they do their thing. And this is just because I believe raid farms have been killed in some of the more recent updates. So that is the goal, of course. All right, well, that is just about my tour for this world. I do plan to show off me completing Falling Block. If you would like to subscribe, feel free. Otherwise, I do hope you'll have a great rest of your day, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.